There's a building in Chicago that feels older than the country itself. A palace carved like a relic from another world. Its blueprints missing. Its story rearranged. And the more you look at it, the more one thought crawls up your spine. This shouldn't be here. There are buildings that don't just stand. They arrive. Field Museum is one of them. Born into Chicago in 1915, a city barely 70 years old, yet the building stares back at you with the face of a 2,000-year-old Greek temple. Verified data. Construction began 1915. Completion and opening 1921. Architects Graham, Anderson, Probst and White. Style Beaux-Arts. Neoclassical. Total area 480,000 square feet. West facade length approximately 350 feet, 106 meters. I look at it. Then I look at the city around it, and I can't help but wonder, who builds an ancient temple inside a civilization still learning how to stand? We're allowed to ask. Nobody said we had to accept the answers. Chicago kept a few photos from 1915. The east facade, some scaffolding, stretches of limestone already in place. But strangely, these photos show everything except the things we actually need. What's missing? No foundation digging, no steel frame, no setting of 20-ton columns, no stone deliveries, no floor-by-floor progress, no early stages at all, a 500,000 square foot palace, and the visual record begins only when it's already halfway born. It's not proof of deception, it's proof of an unfinished story. And in history, silence can be louder than facts. A national museum, a civic monument, a palace built in the age of paperwork. You'd expect blueprints, structural notes, engineering logs, procurement records. Reality, Field Museum holds 1970s to 1980s renovation drawings, a handful of general layouts, but the 1921 as-built blueprints. No institution can confirm their exact location. Chicago History Museum has many architectural archives, but no complete catalog entry for the Field Museum's originals. They're not gone, they're just not where they should be. Sometimes the absence of a document isn't a conspiracy. It's an invitation to notice what isn't being said. Let's talk numbers. Numbers don't lie. People do. Material realities of Beaux-Arts construction, cross-referenced with early 20th century norms. Over 100,000 limestone blocks. Columns, 20 to 22 meters tall. Main hall height, 15 meters. Roof masses, thousands of tons. Facade length, 100 plus meters. Could Chicago build this in 1915? Yes. But steam cranes, limited transport, underfunded public works, a city still recovering from the Great Fire. And yet, they put up a temple the size of a forgotten empire in 5 to 6 years. Not impossible, just mismatched, out of tone, out of character for the period. Field Museum looks like a man wearing clothes several sizes too large. Not wrong, just not quite right. Field Museum isn't alone. Between 1880 and 1930, something odd happened. The Western world began building ancient palaces. Well-documented examples: Philadelphia Museum of Art, 1919 to 1928. Budapest Museum of Fine Arts, 1900 to 1906. Vienna's Museum Quarter, 1890s to 1910s. Cleveland Museum of Art, 1913 to 1916. LA County Courthouse, 1910 to 1920. Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, 1906 to 1909. All share these features: temple-scale proportions, Greek, Roman monumentalism, construction archives that are incomplete, scattered, or strange. Was it a trend, a fashion, or a reconstruction effort? Were they trying to revive something or replace something already forgotten? I don't know, but the pattern is hard to ignore. Architecture is a language, and Field Museum speaks in a dialect we no longer understand. The 20th century didn't create this style, it resurrected it. It wasn't innovation, it was imitation. Reconstruction, a reenactment of a civilization whose fingerprints still linger in stone. Field Museum feels like a restored statue, majestic, flawless, but somehow missing the soul of the original. And maybe the builders knew that. Maybe they weren't inventing, they were remembering. Field Museum doesn't explain itself, it just stands. Still, cold, unbothered. It doesn't claim to be ancient, it doesn't claim to be modern, it simply exists. And sometimes existence is unsettling enough. We know these things are true. 1915 to 1921. Timeline is real. The 1915 photos are real. The Greco-Roman facade is real. The missing blueprints are real. The scale mismatch is real. What's not real? The full story, the missing chapters, the context, the intent, not stone, not columns, but meaning. And maybe that meaning belonged to a civilization 20th century architects were trying, quietly, to echo. Not copy, echo. I'm not telling you what to believe, just what to notice. Because maybe we're not living in the age of creation. We're living in the age of inheritance. We inherit shapes we don't understand, symbols whose purpose we've forgotten, buildings that look ancient, but are stamped with modern dates like someone signing a forged painting. Field Museum might simply be a museum, or it might be something else. A mirror reflecting the gaps in our collective memory. One thing is certain, some buildings look like they came from another time. And the strangest part is knowing we may never learn why. Maybe the missing blueprints were never lost. Maybe they were simply never meant for us. Because buildings like this don't just rise. They echo. They leak traces of a story that didn't survive, or wasn't allowed to. And when a structure this massive stands in perfect silence for more than a century, that silence becomes the blueprint, a map of everything we're told to forget, and everything we're finally ready to notice.